Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a very special guest, current Kalkaska battler in the American Premier Hockey League, Peyton Engstrom. Peyton's played in the APHL the last 2 years with the West Michigan Sentinels, but he's also now with the Kalkaska Battlers. That is his current team. So I'm super excited to get you on, Peyton. This has been an episode we've been wanting to do for a while, so I'm glad to get you on, talk about the APHL, the old
Oh yeah.
UHL, Union Hockey League, the just getting into Kalkaska and the West Michigan Sentinels and everything hockey. So welcome to the show, Peyton Engstrom.
Yeah, nice to finally make it work. I'll drop a little bomb on you. I also played for Sun Prairie in the GLHL this past weekend. So I'll
Oh,
have a little bit on that. That was another good experience. A lot of good guys. Team that, they started out in our league in the APHL last year and then moved to the GLHL going into this season. So yeah, a lot of blessed opportunities. Been very lucky to been able to play a lot of hockey this year. So
yeah, that's awesome, and just getting more experience and everything, and playing in multiple different leagues from the APHL to the Great Lakes Hockey League over there. It's just great experiences. So obviously it's 2025 now. So let's start off with just some goals that you have for 2025. It could be hockey related, life related, whatever.
well, one of the biggest ones was I had a lot of issues with sobriety for a long time. So biggest one, it should be more accountable, hold myself to it, and not slip into any old bad habits basically. And that's really for anyone. But my biggest thing is just keep growing as a player. I really just like being able to play in these different leagues, be able to basically gain knowledge from different players, different levels, different aspects of it. Um, yeah, it's you don't realize how great it is to hear feedback from multiple coaches until you're starting to apply that feedback and see yourself grow as a player.
Yeah, those are some great goals, and just to be growing every day in life and in the sport as an athlete too. Just
Oh
be
yeah.
growing as a person, just making yourself accountable for the sobriety, stuff like that, and then just applying all the feedback you do get from coaches into your game. And that's what truly brings you to the next level, is when you just get that feedback and then learn how to apply
Yeah.
it to the game and whether it be in practices, obviously practice, get those habits going, and then obviously that leads you into what you do in the game, and it all just clicks at one point.
Oh, 100%. Like I've just been taking it day by day, try and get everything basically squared away, get myself to where I need to be and soon enough. I mean, I could be in the APHL next year. I could not be. Like, who's to say? Um,
Yeah.
Between years one and two, seeing the growth has been amazing. There being a lot of guys that have been in the Fed for a decent stint, or whether there's guys that have played in the SPHL overseas, the East Coast, even. Um, One of the teams, I don't know, I think it was Toledo. They had a goalie that was even drafted 2011 or something like that.
Wow.
So there's a lot of guys that have played college, ACHA club, overseas at different levels, whether it's the Fed, SB, East Coast, even. Um, it just really cool seeing the melting pot that has become the APHL, seeing all these teams come together after last year, all the stuff with Drake McKenzie and the UHL, having a few teams rebrand and come back, or whether it's the expansion of a team. I'm just really happy to see our league finally kind of move forward, and
Yeah.
they're everyone's just doing their best to make the best out of something that happened last year, and there's plenty of people that are still holding on to it, talking bad about the APHL, but it's a legit league. It's only going to grow more, and I'm looking forward to see what happens next year and what continues to happen the rest of this year too.
Yeah, and like that's the biggest thing is transition from year one to year two and like having all these new teams come in and grow the league even more from like Kalkaska came in this year. And West Michigan was obviously still there last year, and then like Toledo, Buffalo, Hudson Valley, just
Yep.
have the league grow a little more, and like it helps like develop the players a lot more too. And like just have being in a league like that, like I'm sure like you're developing every single day, every single game, and like it really helping you as a player. So like what's that development period been like from year one to year two that you've noticed?
Honestly, with year one, the Sentinels they've become a true force in the league this year. Last year we had a lot of good players, but we were not able to put it together as well. With the whole league being new, like a lot of us, we showed up, made best with what we could do, but the biggest issue was traveling to places like Sun Prairie or Toledo or anywhere out of state. We travel with like 12, 13 guys. The main issue in year one was travel, where year two, a lot more guys are willing to travel, are fully committed to travel. Um, and like it also just comes down to things like teams having more money. So like
Yeah.
West Michigan, they have two buses now, so they're smaller. But like, hey, if players don't need to drive all the way to Toledo or Hudson Valley or Pittsburgh, wherever, then that'll make players want to play. That'll make them happier for away games. That'll should overall change everything about how away games are, because a lot of the time, I mean, I don't blame guys not wanting to drive out of state, but that also just shows like the difference with teams. One, yes, having money, but two, like the different cultures that are coming into year two also, because there's so many more guys and teams that just want to do better and want to
Yeah.
grow. So,
Yeah, and like I think like the like obviously like the bus helps and everything like that when you have that, but like obviously like I love like me personally, like I love traveling. Like I wouldn't see half the places I've seen without traveling for hockey. So like
oh,
just being
same.
able to be on the bus, just like or be in like your car and just like going state to state to go play in a different rink against a different team, like
Oh, yeah.
or like go to a new team, like w whether whatever it is, like it's always a lot of fun, like a new experience that you really wouldn't get if you weren't playing the sport at the level we are today.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I, I don't know. I love the travel too. Like going to Sun Prairie this past weekend was a lot of fun. It was 7 hours from Muskegon, but I will. It was well worth it. The score may not have been what I wanted it to be, but I wouldn't take back the adventure. I wouldn't take back the trip and the overall experience I got. Being able to play in a different league was nice, but that that Sun Prairie locker room's just another good locker room. Like another team where I came in and they just accepted me and made me one of their own. We went out there, played hockey as a family, and you know, like I said, score may not have been what we wanted, but there's always little things. Like I could have been better. Everyone could have been better. So, you know, you're gonna take it day by day. Like some games you win, some games you lose. So,
Yeah, it's part of the game and part of the process to help build a winning team. But like, what's been some of your favorite places that you've traveled to play in?
as far as playing in the league, I really liked traveling to Pittsburgh. I thought Pittsburgh was a little adventure. They're the Iron City Forge this year, where last year they were the Pittsburgh River Monsters. So they're one of the teams that rebranded, but it was it was a fun adventure. I enjoyed going out there, having a good time with all the guys. One of those weekends where we the score was not in our favor either game. We really did not play the best, but it was one of those weekends where it was cool to travel out there, be able like move around with the guys. Think Sun Prairie would definitely be up there just because in Wisconsin there's not a whole lot to do, but after games we just bar hopped, hung out with some of the guys on the other team, and both teams we just went around bar hopping. So can't really complain about that. It was a good time. It was different. It's kind of nice being in these more midwestern and some of the areas we've been in, a little more country, and I'm all for it. I'm fine with playing in a city. I'm fine with playing in the country. Like the way I see it, either or end up with the best stories. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're always gonna get stories from wherever you play and wherever you travel to. Like when I last year went to Withville, Virginia. I never thought I'd be in Withville, Virginia, but we had a road trip over there and went on that road trip, and it was a great time. Like you're like the arena is literally a barn, like an old like
oh,
rodeo barn. So like
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, that was pretty cool to experience and something I never thought I'd be like in is in a rink where it's literally been made from a barn.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
like
really cool.
they definitely made their adjustments this year to like what the what the arena needed to seat more people, but like the fans there were great. Like
Oh, I
they're
believe
talking
it.
to us throughout the game, like stuff like that. Like and like they even offered us to get us a drink or something like that too. So
Oh
that was
yeah.
pretty funny. And then just going from to Watertown to Binghamton to uh going Port Huron, uh Fraser, like so
Yeah.
like places like that, then Muskegon, like playing in Kalkaska too, like all those rinks and like all those atmospheres are really cool and like something you don't get without playing the sport.
Oh, 100%. And like places like Port Huron, I've been there. I've gone to a couple Motor City games. Like it's playing in it and being a part of it are two different things. Like
Yeah.
playing in it, it's definitely a different level, but even just being a part of the fans, just watching those games, um I never really saw myself like getting to that level, but the more I watched it, like the more committed and invested I wanted to be in hockey, and uh, a league like the APHL. It's going to take some time to grow and get to that level, but I don't see why at some point down the stretch, all three leagues, whether it's the APHL, FPHL, and SP, have some kind of pairing, or the Fed Mill. Like, I could see the Mill and APHL depending on how they work. Like, if they were to come together and basically just build their own league, that I think that'd be super cool. I think they'd bring like the Mill would bring a lot of good hockey to the APHL, and I think the APHL would be able to bring a lot of good hockey to the Mill. And with teams like Summit City already being affiliated, and then Hudson Valley being affiliated, I mean, we'll see what happens with Hudson Valley, but I think it's really cool that in our second year we've already got two teams that are affiliated with the Fed. So,
Yeah, it's definitely cool to see that. And, like it's good to get that affiliation like development because like you see guys through the pipeline. So like it's good for developing like want helping guys get to that next level.
oh yeah, and I mean I even know a few guys that like made it up to that level this year, and have played there the last few years, and it's really cool seeing a lot of them be able to grow, develop, but also all the different experiences you get from playing for teams like that, whether
Yeah.
it's the travel or just the people you meet, whether it's on your team or other teams, could be a fan from another team, even like just meeting all those random people. It builds memories after a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And like just you've been on a couple teams since last year. You're with Kalkaska right now in the APHL with the Badlers. So like what has been your time in Kalkaska like been for you so far? I know it's been only been like a month since you've been there, but like what have you experienced in that month of being in Kalkaska?
With Kalkaska, honestly, it's been nothing but love. Like their fans are great, the team is great, their owners are great. Like I had said, as soon as I joined the team, I step into that locker room. I knew a few of the guys, but even the ones that didn't, like they shook my hand, introduced themselves. Like we all got rowdy together before the game, and then got rowdy after the game together. So it would definitely one of those things where I didn't know what I was going to step into. Obviously, you hear things, but you don't. I'm not the type to build my own opinion without having my own opinion, of
Yeah.
course. So I'm not gonna go in there and assume the worst or assume the best, but going in there, I it's the best it could have been, that's for sure. So with like not being a part of the Sentinels and joining Kalkaska, it was definitely I wasn't sure which way it was gonna go, but I've been nothing but happy playing for those guys, playing with those guys, and being a part of that program.
Yeah, it just seems like that's a great place to play in the APHL, like with their fan base and their fan support and everything like that. Like, what have you noticed from being in the games of just inside the Coliseum with like the atmosphere, like how rowdy the fans get and everything with that?
Um, yeah, they've just got a true fan base. They've got a city that truly supports the team, truly wants to be a part of the team, and
Yeah,
that's something where you can find that, but you don't find people that are so heavily like invested, especially when it's been like when this league is basically in year one with how everything happened last year. Like this league is basically a year one league. Like everyone basically has to run their teams like it's their first season.
yeah,
So yeah, for Kalkaska to come from the mill to the APHL and not even skip a beat, like they've been nothing but good to me. Their fans are insane and for all the right reasons. Like they truly get into it, and it's cool seeing all the promotions they do as well. So like they try and give back to the community too. They try and be as invested as possible, and that's something that like good teams always have foundations like that. So
yeah. And though those fans are definitely rowdy, like rowdy in a good way.
oh yeah.
I remember it was my first game in Kalkaska. Like it was literally like beginning of March last year, and it was like my second game of the season in the mill for last year, and like it was a close game. It was 3-2 with like maybe 2 minutes left in the game, and
Yeah.
like I couldn't even hear my own thoughts. Like it was an empty net on the other side. It was 3-2 us, Muskegon for in favor of Muskegon, and like as before the puck dropped, like in my own zone. Like I couldn't even hear myself think. It was just buzzing in there. Like everyone was just screaming. It was probably one of the most packed places I played in a while there. So like that was pretty cool.
Oh
And
yeah.
like it was you couldn't even hear the whistle. So like you would think you would hear the whistle, but you really wouldn't. But and then like once it ended up in my glove, like I knew the whistle was coming, so that was not a problem. But like you barely hear your own thoughts and barely hear the whistle as well.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, they're a loud, rowdy group, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I love how a whole community. Like you don't hear too much about Kalkaska unless you're local for the most
Yeah.
part. But like to see a community truly come behind them, like places like Muskegon, we've always had hockey. Like we've
Yeah.
always had some form of hockey. So I love seeing the Voyagers do well. I love seeing teams like Flint, like they're trying to do what they can. And I mean, sadly, with Flint, a lot of people are just gonna be like, "Well, we'll go watch the Firebirds," but like they're trying to build something, and I think each of these markets, especially when it comes to next year, they're gonna be able to expand more and more.
Yeah.
Um, Kalkaska, the more they expand, the rowdier it'll be, and the greater it'll be to play there. They all these teams have pretty solid fan bases for the most part. Should certain teams like Kalkaska, they've just already got a whole city behind them in a way. So may not
Yeah.
be may not be too big, but they've got plenty of people behind them, and it's cool to see how their following has grown.
Yeah. It's only year two, so it's only gonna get more attention from the city, from the people in the area over there, and it's only gonna grow.
Oh yeah, and like I mean, I'd love to see Gaylord come in next year and still be an expansion, but I mean, the way I see it, they like Kalkaska is already branching over that way when it comes to ads and sponsors and stuff like that. Um, I really I would like to see the league grow as much as possible, but
Yeah.
I don't know whether Gaylord's going to be able to recover. It'd be really cool to have that kind of rivalry where they're not very far at all. And I guess we'll just see what happens next year. Like, I know there's some New York markets. I've heard like Ohio and Indiana like being futures for another team for both. So it'd be cool to see like how the league grows going into next year. I already know there's a lot of interest, so I just hope to see the league continue to keep growing because if you would have told me last year that like the league would rebrand and all this stuff, like I probably wouldn't have been that surprised with Drake McKenzie being involved. But at the same time, like I'm just glad to see all these teams be able to come together, bounce back right away, and then here we are for year two, and the league's stronger than it's ever been. So
Yeah. Yeah, and stronger and it's gonna continue to grow. But as well as playing the APHL, you played in the Great Lakes Hockey League. It's like did you notice in your couple games over in Sun Prairie that like what's the difference between the Great Lakes Hockey League and the APHL?
I'd say with the GLHL, there's a lot of skill, but I definitely notice like there's a lot more guys that have played at the higher level that are like enforcers. So like I noticed there were a lot more physical guys that still had the speed. Like they weren't guys that were a little slow and big. Like they were guys that could catch up to you no issue, and they'd make sure you knew that they were there, whether it was a big hit or them just being able to outman you on the puck. And the APHL, they have a lot of that too. They've got a lot of guys that are strong on their skates and can really throw the body. But I think just with the GLHL being as established and as old as like it is, they have a lot more. Like they should have a little more to it, basically. And I mean, when the league's been around since like 1940, I would expect nothing less than a league that's only a year and a half old. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, there's definitely in the APHL, there's plenty of guys that can hit, that can skate, that can shoot. But with the GLHL, it just felt a little more physical. So, I mean, there's plenty of skill guys too, but it just felt a little more physical. It felt kind of more like Wisconsin style hockey rather than Michigan hockey is the best way to put it. When it comes to like Michigan and Wisconsin hockey, they're both very close, but there's still just little elements to the style that make both different. Like it was just really cool experience being able to travel out there, kind of see it differently, be able to just play a different style of hockey, play with a different group of guys. Like it was just honestly all around a good weekend, fun weekend. Can't really complain. I mean, of course, a win would have been nice, but there's more to winning. Just be able to create new relationships, play for a new team, meet new guys. Good enough for me.
Yeah, so like what were those games like for you in Sun Prairie over there and just like seeing the different style and like how do you have to change your game for playing
Um,
that style?
well, so normally I played defense, so I started out at defense and then they switched me to forward to kind of like add a little speed and stuff to it. But it was kind of unreal in a way. Like the team we played was De Pere, so playing the Deacons, like it was a hard game. It was a lot of fun though. Definitely kind of kind of just made me realize that there's, plenty of things I can still work on to improve, which is never a bad thing. Just being able to go in there, have a lot of fun while doing it, and it was just a good time being able to do that, have a different experience. Just made me kind of showed that like even though I'm able to hang with everyone, that I've still got things that I want to work on to get better and to be able to kind of just, in a way, move up, but at the same time, just continue to grow as a player. Um, yeah, my legs were definitely a little shot. I wasn't expecting. Um, that type of skating, honestly, especially playing forward. Like, it's one thing to have to back check, but usually I'm a pretty defensive defenseman as
Yeah.
is. So, like, yeah, having to do all that back checking, playing center, wasn't wasn't what I was expecting, but it was definitely nice to change the position, play in a different spot, and just I mean, in multiple ways, play a different position, play for a different team. It was pretty unreal. It was pretty great. Can't really say too much other than it was a good time and I enjoyed it.
Did you get any good scoring chances or no?
I had one, but other than that, I didn't have too many good opportunities. Sadly, there it was we were able to get the puck, but we weren't able to really do anything with it. So, um, it was, like I said, a fun weekend to be a part of. I'm glad that I made the trip, but yeah, offensively, we just couldn't get anything to really go. We had chances, and it seemed like the bounce never went our way. So even though we had plenty of chances, we just couldn't put the puck in the back of the net, really.
Yeah, and usually the pair is pretty good. I from what I've seen is that they've always put up solid numbers.
Yeah, they've always been one of the top teams in the league. I believe right now they're the longest team to stay in the GLHL as well. So I'm not sure if that's true, but I know they've been one of the longest teams in the league anyway. So
Yeah,
yeah.
historic organization.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I remember growing up and I always like as far as that type of hockey. Like I can remember the Deacons logo since I was like 5. Like I had family and like one of my buddies, his older brother, like he went and played in the GLHL and I just know so many random people that either have out of college or said I'm not really looking to play college and played there. Like I there's so many it was one of those things where it was kind of like not like a childhood dream per se because I want to act like I was aiming higher, but it was just kind of one of those things where like had heard about the GLHL. I had saw some of their games throughout the years and stuff. So like it just kind of felt kind of cool in a way to finally be playing there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was just a good weekend. Honestly, a lot of good guys. Luckily I knew a few of them too, so that makes it easier too, you know. But yeah, it was a good experience. Really enjoyed being able to play on that side of the lake and be able to create new memories, new friendships, etc.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the memories that you make playing the game and just all the different experiences and everything like that. But you've had quite the experience with the UHL, with the Union Hockey League last year when it first started before it became the APHL. It's like, what was that whole situation like?
I mean, it was in theory the league itself was a really good thing. Everyone just wanted to be able to work all week and then play hockey on the weekends. I don't think that's too much. For some guys, it was their only chance to be able to play higher up. Some guys, it helped them. Like it was very much last year was very much you could tell some teams had guys that hadn't played above beer league and um like even on the Sentinels last year, like we had some really good players. We had some guys return from last year that were, you know, they're really good players, and I'm glad to see that some of those guys stuck. I'm glad to see the Sentinels grow as much as they have from year one to year two because last year, like it was brutal. It was like it was a real melting pot when it came to like the skill level because I mean it wasn't any high end skill really on any of the teams. It wasn't like, oh yeah, they this team has a guy that played for in the East Coast 50 games or whatever. Like, um, teams like Summit City have come in and they've been able to do a really good job this year. But as far as last year, there were a lot of teams that had beer leaguers basically on the team and stuff like that. And I mean, it was did it have for some good moments? Yes, seeing guys that you wouldn't see hit and stuff like that. But yeah, last year it was a good idea. It did with people like Drake McKenzie being in charge, like him being in charge didn't wasn't gonna help the league grow. It was only just another cash grab for him, and um, I feel last year reflects Drake McKenzie in a very good way, but the way that all the owners were able to come together, basically save the league, and then come into year two, I'm just glad they were able to make it work. Honestly, I didn't want to see this idea and this league fall apart simply because of one person basically
Yeah.
just wanting to take money from people. So
Yeah, and like you actually fought the guy last year too, right?
yeah, so the game before they folded, Flint folded as a team because he was both their owner, using an alias to be the league owner. So he started the league and the Flint team. And then yeah, we had traveled to Flint the weekend before. Um and it was kind of like hearing his voice, like seeing him, being around him, like I'm not the type to start a bar fight, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted. Just the way he talked about our team, the way he acted, like he was so he was full of himself. He was very airheaded and arrogant. He thought he was the toughest guy and stuff like that. And it's like when I don't know, when you very clearly basically only played rec league hockey, you are not the best on your team. You are not some big goon. Like, he was every like team that I've talked with that I know people on, like especially last year, was like, oh yeah, that little fucker was trying to start stuff with me. He was trying to start stuff with him, and blah blah blah. And like, um, I had issues with him with the MIHL when that was the IHL. Like, um, him basically like taking $150 from each player for that prospect skate. Like, I I had always waited for my chance. Like, is it $150? Yes, but for someone to just kind of scam you and then another 100 people out of it, like that means he walked out with a cool 15K just from that skate alone. So like, I mean, got to pay for ice and stuff too, but knowing him, he probably didn't. So, um, yeah, like it had been a thing in the building. It had been 5 years, 6 years that I wanted to get back at him. And he's one of those people where you completely forget about, but then as soon as his name pops up, you're like, I know. Like, you don't forget people like that. So yeah, with getting into a fight with him, it was great. I wish I would have gotten better punches in. Um, but anyone that's seen the video of it, they hear my mom going crazy, and I still find it hilarious because I had been talking with her for like a month before those games, and I was like, I get the chance, I'm going to like. And so there was only 2 minutes left in the period, and it was the third period, so who really gives a shit?
Yeah.
And so like I went out of my way, and like I didn't even really hit him, but like I went so far out of my way for it, and he hacked me in the leg. And so it's like, do you want to fucking go? And he did. So like, props to him for not being afraid, I guess, to fight someone bigger than him. But at the same time, like, I'm just glad I got to get some punches in on him. I'm glad I was able to fight him, because the very next day it all came out. It all came out that he was doing all this stuff, and it was just it was crazy that he had gotten away with it for this long, but that nobody like really knew anything, let alone suspected anything. And like, prior to that away weekend in Flint, um, so 2 weeks before they folded, I was bringing up to my coach, like, this Drake McKenzie dude, like, he 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 likes the attention. He likes to kind of throw himself right in plain view when he's doing this stuff. So like Flynn, last season they had, like, he's doing all this scamming stuff, and so the Flynn news channel did a story on like Flint having a new hockey team and blah blah blah. Well, he's one of the players that got interviewed during it, so there's all kinds of eyes on that after that. And it's like, when someone like that is doing stuff like that, like, it's very easy to start piecing stuff together. And when I saw like the interview, I knew right away that it was him. Like, I we hadn't played Flint yet, so I didn't know. I had saw the name, and I was like, I'm just going crazy. Like, I would just tell myself, I'm going crazy. Like, there's no way this person of all people is gonna come back and try to do something like this. Well, lo and behold, he did exactly that. And so like, um when we were in Flint, he was talking to my coach, and my coach was like, this voice sounds very familiar and stuff. And so like, when I was talking to him beforehand about like this Drake McKenzie being a scam artist and blah blah blah. He's already done this before. Like when we went and got drinks after the game, my coach was talking with him, and he's a little Smeagol looking fuck. So he's talking about stuff like, "Oh, I'll shoot a puck into your guys' bench, so one of you will fight me," and blah blah blah. Nobody wanted to fight me this game, and all this shit. It's like you're not worth the hair off anyone's ass. Like you don't. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody gives a shit about you. Like it just as simple as you're not worth it. Like, and so yeah, he was talking all this stuff, and like my coach just kept talking to him to kind of like keep hearing his voice and stuff, and he put it together and reached and talked with some of the other owners, and like he was like, yo, like I think this is the same dude, like their voices are almost exactly the same, blah blah blah. And so like they start checking into it, like try and figure it out over the next week. And so Flint came to West Michigan to play the Sentinels, and so we played them. And like that we played them. It was a Sunday. I got into my fight with them, and like luckily, of course, we won the game too. So that's the biggest thing. Like at least we kind of got our win in, and I got to do what I wanted to do. But then come Monday, everything comes out and the team gets folded. So it was for him to do all that, for basically the whole league to like each team to have money taken from them. Like um our league would be like double the size right now had we not lost all the teams we
Yeah.
lost last year, because like all the Boston, like Massachusetts, I should say, all the Massachusetts teams, they left. So there were four teams that left. And then um, New York, they were supposed to have some expansion teams, and the Hudson Valley team was the only one that didn't leave. So originally it was like now they're the Buffalo Tempest, and they joined back when the Sioux fell through. So they originally were the Niagara Falls Buffaloes last year. So even though they rebranded, they're technically not a new team. Um, so like they were gonna do like a 14 league in New York, and then the mass teams, which they're doing that successfully right now. So we would have had basically seven teams in the league this year. So I mean, it would have been rather than eight, 15. Um, we'll just go with Buffalo. Like they end up joining us anyway, so it would have been 16 teams. Like well, 15 including the seven. So um, yeah, and then like we had the Sioux team. I was on West Michigan to begin the year, like I said before, and we traveled up to the Sioux, and we all like take the buses. We're staying in a motel as a team, all that. And we all travel up there thinking we're gonna have a game in the morning. Well, it was like noon or something like that. Well, when we're all at the rink getting ready and stuff, at an hour before the game, there's like 3, 4 guys that have shown up for the Sioux team. So like the owners try and figure out like where his players are and all this and stuff, and like so long story short, basically a bunch of his players backed out on him last minute, so they only had like 5 guys show up. And so basically rather than us getting screwed completely, they paid for the ice time. So when they paid for the ice time, we just did a blue and orange scrimmage basically. But um like the Sume, I mean, they could have had more fans coming, but like they basically right before the game canceled, and so we did a scrimmage, and um like luckily they paid for the ice, like we were able to still make use of the
Yeah,
ice time and stuff, so that's good. But yeah, just random stuff like that happening too. We made the most of it. Did it suck? Yeah, but I
made the
mean,
most out of it.
yeah, free ice, got to scrimmage with all the boys. So it was fun even though it sucked. To like basically after the game they originally were gonna do like a skate with the youth and stuff, like have the fans skate with the team. And so since they didn't have a team, we ended up doing it with the handful of people that stuck around. So it was cool to be able to do something like that, make the most of it. Basically, it was like we were the home team, even though we were playing in St. Ignace. So, um, yeah, like I guess that's a perk to it is we didn't
Yeah,
have to go all the way up to the Sioux, but yeah, it was just all kinds of random things, and
yeah.
that's how we started the year. So,
Still a
um,
cool story that you got to skate with their fans and just stick around, even though you guys didn't have to, but you guys stuck around and did it for them.
oh yeah, and I mean, like I said, the culture, there, like the Sentinels, they're top tier, like they're first class. The owners, they're very committed and willing to do whatever it takes for the players. Um, and that's something you need. You need good owners,
Yeah,
especially when it's a group like them. There's three owners, so it's really cool seeing three guys that genuinely care to keep this team going and do what they can to make the most out of it. Because I mean, though they when I was there, they treated us well. I mean, they didn't need to, and it's the little things like getting us buses for this year. Like it was really cool to have little things like that for this year compared to last year. So, um, yeah, like they definitely care about the community too. They definitely do what they can, and I mean it goes to show with how good of a team they have this year. Like
yeah,
obviously what they're offering is good. So
yeah. And like with just how the league's improved and everything, like the league's only gonna get better. It's gonna get more opportunities and it's gonna keep growing, especially if it keeps doing well like it is right now.
oh, 100%. And it'd be interesting to see if teams like the Sioux try and make a crack at it next year. I don't know if they'll be allowed to. It'd be cool to see Gaylord be able to be, come out and become a team. Um, and it'll just be cool to see like the out of market stuff, see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. But before we wrap this episode up, like, what was youth hockey like for you growing up in Michigan and all the way up until you started in the APHL?
So honestly, like growing up, it was a lot of rec hockey. I didn't play a lot of travel, unless it was spring league. So like spring league, I'd get to be able to travel a little bit, but um, I mean, as far as growing up, it was mostly house league and playing rec league. So doing both those, and then in high school, I was able to play for my high school, but um, yeah, like I definitely didn't have like I didn't have the simple route. I didn't have parents that were gonna pay, thousands upon thousands for me to play each year. But I mean, even in high school, they were paying a good amount for me to play. So I would just growing up, I was just always happy to be able, keep playing hockey, and
Yeah,
it was one of those things where I knew hockey was always going to be there. I didn't care if I had all these buddies go and play double and triple A, but I didn't see the appeal of it. I Would I have loved to have played that level? Of course. What kid doesn't? If they're able to, why wouldn't they? But yeah, like kind of enjoy that I got to kind of just take the more laid back route in a way. Because like I still had plenty of friends that were playing house and not traveling, so like it was nice to be able to play with a bunch of the guys that I grew up with and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then I actually out of high school we had COVID start, so I didn't really play hockey for a little bit. And then I didn't really plan on getting into it. And then once the rinks started opening up, I kind of just went on my free time because I had an ex that had college classes in the morning. So I would just go to the drop ins out that way and go from Kalamazoo to Battle Creek and skate twice. So that's kind of what got me back into playing. And then I had a few buddies that were like, "Yeah, you want to play beer league?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So it's kind of just started. I got back into it by playing beer league and doing drop-ins when everything opened back up, and then um, going into the summer, I was kind of like, I don't know, like I kind of want to play hockey, and so I was thinking about it, and then it was probably like end of August. I had saw an ad for the Sentinels, so yeah, like tried out for the Sentinels. Ended up playing for them last year, and it was a good year. D- Despite all the craziness, that's what senior A slash minor pro hockey is. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by any means, and yeah, to be able to kind of just build my way back up and be able to play here. It's been crazy. Like, just been a nice couple of years. I honestly didn't think I was gonna play hockey competitively again. Anyway, I should say. Um, and I hadn't really thought about playing hockey too much, and then yeah, when I started playing more drop-ins and playing beer league, I had that ad pop up, and I was like, "Shoot, I'll try out for this team. It seems like a cool opportunity. Why not?" I'm glad I went through with it last year and I ended up playing. Um, I'm glad this year I'm still lucky enough to be able to play, whether it's Kalkaska or Sun Prairie. Um, or who knows, I could play for a team like Flint. Like, who's to say I don't bounce around a little more before the season ends? So, um, yeah, it should different. Sometimes taking a different path doesn't mean you won't end up on the same one as
Yeah.
some other people. So you don't have
Yeah.
to always be the best player, but as long as you put your heart into it and you put forth that effort and grind, you can find a way.
Yeah, and you just make the most of every opportunity that's given to you and like you just have fun with it. Like it doesn't matter the journey or the path that you've been on, like as long as you keep creating those opportunities and getting those opportunities and making the most of it and having a good time while doing it, like that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, the way I see it, every opportunity you have, just treat it like your last, because you
Yeah.
never know when it will be. And if you can say you threw it all out there and you did what you could, then you did what you could.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's a great way to wrap this episode up. But thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and want to wish you the best of luck wherever wherever the rest of the way takes you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me. It's always nice talking with you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.